Hi guys, so we're looking at creating a functional self-contained door asset. So that's the plan. So where we're going to do this is we are going to start with a new blueprint class as an actor, and we are going to call this door. There we go, door, a classic. So we are going to open this, and this is obviously the blueprint editor. You will probably have your own door assets. Just for the sake of this, I'm going to choose something that already exists. So if you got your own door asset as a static mesh, which is what it is when you import it from 3ds Max properly, you'll be able to take this and just drag it straight into there. So we should be able to see now something like this. There we go. This is how it looks. In here, we've just literally got the wall or the door or whatever it's called in yours. So yeah, there we go. We're going to now add a component, which is a box collision, and we are going to stretch this. So this is going to be where if the character walks into this, then the door will open. Obviously, with it being down there, it's kind of pointless. So I'm just going to line this up with the bottom of the door. I'm going to stretch it out. And I'm going to stretch it that way as well. It doesn't need to be 100%, but ideally is. One thing I'm going to change on this by default is I'm going to change the collision. So currently overlap all dynamic. I'm going to switch it to custom. I'm going to make it ignore everything but the pawn. This way, then it doesn't matter where you put it. It will only open if the player walks up to it. If it's colliding with another wall, it won't affect it at all. Whereas if you leave it, it might do. So we're going to compile that. There we go. And then I'm going to the event graph. This is where things get interesting. We've got these 3 nodes to start with. We don't need them. Delete them. So I'm going to select the box. I'm going to look for an event called onComponentBeginOverlap, which is right at the top. So we're going to have that. I'm going to select the box again. And then yet again, onComponent, scroll right up to the top, end overlap. The reason you select the box is because of this little box here, context sensitive. It will tell you what you can add based on what you've selected. So there's that. So next thing I'm going to add, I don't really need to select anything for this. I'm going to add in a timeline. So the bottom one, add timeline. And I'm going to put this around here. We don't need to worry about that just at the moment. I'm going to put everything in, and then we're going to connect it up and make it all work. We're going to add in another component. This is going to be a lerp, but specifically a lerp vector. Just like that. So what these will be, will be where the door starts, and B will be where the door ends. So rather than have to write these in, I'm going to right click and I'm going to promote these to variables. So as you can see down here, it's now a variable. So this will be door start, and I'll right click on this, promote to variable, door end. Yeah, annoyingly they overlap each other, so you might also want to drag them out. I'm going to place this just here, because essentially that is going to plug into there. Oh no, the one that we make is going to plug into there, but not for the moment. The last thing we need to make is we need to select the wall, or the door in your case, right click and set relative location. So just this one here for me. There we go. Right, so this is where we connect things up a little bit. So if it begins to overlap the box, we want to play this. If it stops, we want to reverse it. That needs to update into there. And this is going to set the new location. We've got one thing missing, and this is the timeline. So we need to set a timeline up properly. So I'm going to double click timeline, and this is the timeline editor. I'm going to add a new float track, and I'm going to call this driver. And I'm also going to select this box for use last keyframe. So this will be, it'll cut the animation to the last keyframe. There's no keyframes in at the minute, but we're going to put them in. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I know where these need to go. So you want to hold down shift and click on 0, 0. first keyframe's been set with that. The second one I'm going to put at 1, 1. And the third one I'm going to put at around 1.51. And that's the timeline done. I don't need to worry about this anymore. We can go back into the event graph. As you can see, we've got a new thing here, which is our driver. I'm going to plug that into my alpha for my vector. My vector lerp, should I say. And we're almost finished. Because the only thing we need to change is this. We've obviously set these up as variables, but I've not added anything to it. So my door, I think I'm going to raise up in the air. So I know that my door's 400 by 300. So I'm going to raise it up 300 in the air. So if you want to do it side by side, you would change either the X or the Y. That's how you would do it. For me, I'm just going to raise my door up rather than side to side. I'm going to compile this and make sure it all works. And then, moment of truth time, let's see if this works. So make sure you actually drag the actor into the scene. So for me, I might want to rotate it so it fits this gap that I've set up for it here. And I'm going to push it back a little bit just so we can see when it works. Delete that box, it's going to be in the way. So if I hit play, so yep, first person, I walk to this, it raises up, I walk out of this box, it goes back down. So quite simply there, this is a self-contained automatic door. So we're not going to have to mess around creating lots of different scripts for lots of different doors. We can place this door wherever we want. So say for instance, I'm going to have one of the doors here, one of the doors down here, duplicate these walls. You'll see that they act differently, well, independent from each other. So I'll walk up to this door, that'll open, that one's still closed, that one opens, get to here, that one closes. So you see what I mean? You can drag these doors anywhere in your scene and have multiple of them. So that's how we set that up. And in future videos, I'll be looking into different ways of this working. So things like keys, things like having to trigger the door to open and all that kind of stuff. But nice and simple there. A door that opens when we walk up to it. What more could you ask for?